All right, so let me get this out of the way. I just got done doing last week's review. I got lots of reviews to do because I was off for those 2 weeks. I got to catch up with my content. And I only smoked that much of the cigar. I got to get a lot of content out. So usually when I'm done with the video, I'll smoke the whole cigar and light up another cigar, and I'll do that review or that content and keep going. And I'm like, you know what? It's a good cigar. I'm enjoying this cigar. I got lots of stuff to do. My juices are flowing in my brain talking about my trip to Europe, so why not talk a little bit more with the same cigar? So, last week we talked about the bunker, the Italian enemy World War II bunker. Amazing. Go watch it. I need the views. And I think it's a good story. But today I'm going to talk about the thing that I was so excited about on this cruise. All the excursions we did in all the countries. Basically, I said, "Hey, babe, whatever you want to do." And then she goes, "Well, what about this excursion?" I said, "Yep." I said, "That's my day." And so that was my day. If we were going to spend extra time at this place, that was what we were going to do. It was a busy day. It was Rome, and I think it was Rome. Was it Rome? I don't know. It was in Italy. And so we got to see a lot of stuff, but we ended up at Pompei, which I was really excited about. Really excited about, because when I was a kid, the sin compromiso. When I was a kid, I was really interested in castles. Medieval time, I was. And then I evolved into, a little later in school, I really got focused on pyramids. Really neat. The architecture and drawing everything, and the booby traps, and the way they built them in the sand, and all this other stuff. That was really cool. And then I learned about Pompei and how people were frozen in time under the ashes of the volcano. And I've always had a fantasy, creative imagination about what that would look like. And so I've done research. And this was back when you didn't have the internet. You had a Britannica Junior Encyclopedia and the World Book Encyclopedia. And you go to the library, and you'd have to read and research and study. It wasn't just to click on your fingers. You just watch videos like you're doing now. So I got to experience Pompei. And it was neat to see the things that I expected it to be. Some of it was, and some of it wasn't. And some of it were more than I expected, and some of it were less than I expected. So I got to stand on a Roman road. Now I'm going to run pictures through here, just so you don't have to look at my face. I'll still be smoking a cigar. But just to show you some of the stuff. I got to stand on a Roman road. And that was really impressive. Now, it was hard to walk on. I was having to look at the ground a lot more than I was looking up. Pompei was huge. It was ginormous, and it's not fully uncovered. The thing that really surprised me is Pompei is not in a hole. It's not, they dug down to it. It's actually on a hill, a 30, 40, 50, 60 foot tall hill that the ash was over the top of that, and they had to dig all that down. The technology was crazy for that time of their lives. There was a big difference between the haves and the have-nots. The haves had amazing places with what are those things called? Little chips of stuff. They put it together and they make pictures out of it. Little tiles. I forget what it's called. They had that, and then they had fresco paintings where they would put plaster on the wall and they would paint the plaster while it was wet so that it would actually cook into the plaster and stay longer. It was still there. The architecture was amazing. The feeling of the different stones. The way they placed the stones so it would be earthquake-proof, not volcano-proof. The fact that it was huge. It was huge. It was ginormous. I thought it was a little bitty old place. This thing was ginormous. You couldn't see it all in 5 days. And they're still digging more out. And that there was another place that was the same like this, but I guess it didn't get the same PR, so they don't talk about that place very much. They took us to a rich house, which is really neat. And they said they knew it was a rich house This was kind of cool because they found a storage of tobacco. That's where the rich people got their goodness, right? So I truly believe it's just a bunch of rolled up cigars. Probably Dumbarton Tobacco and Trust. Probably not. But it would have been if they had it. They would have been without compromise, for sure. They had water. They had sewage. They had aqueducts. They had pools. They had gardens. They had so much stuff. They had so much statuary, so much, all that stuff. I'm still trying to figure out what the name of that dang thing is where they put the tiles together. I know that. It's a word I know. I just can't remember. But it was amazing to walk in the space of. Now there was a ton of people. There was. People were everywhere. But every once in a while you look down these little roads, these little alleyways. They're about 20 feet apart. Now there was no roofs. Right? The roofs are all gone, so it was very hot. Everybody talked about how hot it was, but every once in a while you look down this alleyway and there'd be nobody, and at that moment it felt like you were all by yourself in that city. It was really, really neat to experience that. I got to see amphitheaters and how they set the acoustics up where somebody could just barely speak and everybody in every seat could hear. 1,500 seat amphitheater. People could hear at the back. It was amazing, and it was not unto itself, because you walk out of there and you're going to another place. You're going to other artifacts, other amazing experiences. Europe has so many. The concentration of awesomeness is just, of historical amazingness and architecture is just almost overwhelming. It was fantastic. But here's the funny thing. I'm going to call it funny. Here's the interesting thing. I came across that bunker last week, the video I did last week. And I didn't expect it to impact me. And it did. It really did. It really struck me to my core, unexpectedly. And I had hyped Pompei up so much in my head and in my heart that I was expecting to get there and just have an overwhelming experience to where I was emotionally moved. I wasn't. I did enjoy it scientifically. I did enjoy it educationally. I really, really did. I loved being there so I could say I've been there. I smoked a cigar there right outside the gate, which was really, really cool to me. That was on my bucket list. But even when I saw the body, all right, so the people are cased in ash. They were all cased in ash. They said they could have left if they wanted to, but most people just chose to stay. Don't understand that. Don't know how they understand that, but as they were excavating, they came across these bodies. As they were cutting through the ash, they would find these bodies, and they would get through into the skeletons of people. They had some of those out there. But then they had these people cased in like this white-looking, I don't know, clay. Come to find out, somebody said, hey, here's the deal. They done went through and they done found some of these bodies, and as soon as they popped open where the body would be, there's a big open void. And that's because over the years, the minerals in the ash had fortified the bones, but had consumed the flesh. And so there was nothing but skeletons in there. But because the ash had mineralized and caked over, it actually made like a shell of the person. And so one of the scientists there said, hey, why don't we just get to that shell space and we will inject an epoxy into, or a clay, or whatever, into the void where the bones are and where the flesh used to be, and fill that up, and then we can chip off the rest of the ash, and then we have the shape of the person. That was impactful. The pictures, I'll show you these pictures right here, was of this lady. It was a young girl, they said. I don't know how they told. I guess it's from, I don't know, the bones and x-rays. I don't know. I didn't ask. I was just enjoying it. But she was in a position of almost like she was asleep. I don't know how somebody can sleep through something like that, but I don't know. But that was kind of interesting. But of course, there were tons of people crowded in a very small room, walking in a circle. You had to walk and take pictures, walk and take pictures. So that kind of detracted from it. I think if I would have been in there by myself, it would have been something that would have been more experiential. They also talked about the houses of ill repute. They were there. They talked about the party places. They talked about all the other stuff. It was very interesting to see a working city that had just stopped. They showed some of the artifacts of the bowls and of the leftover parts of the wagons and all this. It was really neat how they have displayed that. And the thing that impressed me the most, I guess, is they said when they first started doing Pompei, they had very little money. And so they would just excavate small parts. And then they would show these parts and ask for more money. And then eventually Europe said, you know, this is one of these world famous sites. We're going to give you tons of money and you're going to do it. And so what they do is they take some money to continue excavating, but then they take a lot of money to preserve what they've excavated and leave the rest alone for other generations. So they didn't just say, well, let's just rip through this thing and find everything that's amazing and then we'll be done. They believe that it is their legacy and their heritage to share with the next generation. Maybe their technology is not as good as the technology will be in 20, 30, 50, 100 years, and they don't want to diminish that which can be found in the future. And I found that impressive. I found that awesome. So, the reason I'm doing this video is because I want to share, number one. Number two, I want to mark a moment in time, not with ash, but with video, because I'll forget. I will. So many great experiences with the First Lady on this trip. God, I love her. Fantastic trip. It was so much more being able to see the world through her eyes and enjoy it, holding her hand as we walk through these things. But I want to be able to remember it, and I want to be able to put my moment in time on video so that I can look back and I can say, God. And hopefully it will trigger the rest of the moments, because we spent hours and hours and hours there. We did. We walked probably 5-6 miles through that. And I'm not going to take the time to share all that with you, but hopefully when I watch this video back, I will remember those moments, and I know First Lady will be there, and I know I will smile. So if you ever get a chance to travel, I highly recommend you do. I highly recommend you experience things outside of your little area and see what other people have gone through and what other people are living, and celebrate those moments about them, with or without them, right? We only get around this world one time. Let's make it the best we can. Let's fill it full and enjoy everything we can do and be with people that you love to be with. And I sure do love to be with the First Lady. I'd love to be with you too. But if I got to pick, sorry. But I do love you. I'll talk to you later. Steve Saka, thanks for being awesome. I mean that. And if you need to get a new cigar, you need to get another cigar, grab a Dunbar and Tobacco and Trust. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I love you. I'll see you later. Later, Tater.